Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'm your co-host, Mashal St. Patrick Hewitt, and you know who's with me.
Yeah, Santoki here. Hope everyone's having a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're tuning into around the world. And Mash, you know, there's a famous saying, you can't keep a good man off the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Mash. Today's a big one, main event episode, Mash. Who we got?
Listen, we got the Don Dada on the show today. we got. I don't know what kind of intro we can do, but let's give the formal intro. The former white ball captain of the West Indies, one of our goats of the T20 generation. It is, of course, Kieron Pollard, ladies and gentlemen. We've been trying to get him on for so long. And we finally managed it, of course, after he has retired from international cricket. But we've got him on all the same. Let's bring him on, Santoki, and give him the big ups and the welcome. Kieron, how you doing?
I'm good. I can't be better.
Yes. As we said, this has been a long time coming. A bit of back and forth. Obviously, understandably. We had to wait quite a while for you to be able to commit to being able to come on here. But let's how's international retirement treating you, Kieron? How's it going?
It has been good. I can't complain. Obviously, I had that sudden sort of, just of, thinking that this is a time, and after that, I've been happy. I've watched these guys play. I haven't missed what they have done in terms of on the cricket field, but it has given me a sense of, fresh sort of mental in terms of, life in general, and, also just be able to watch things from a different perspective.
Most definitely. Santoki, I know you wanna kind of lead in on this one.
Yeah, go. Let's take it back, Kieron, to your early life. It'd be interesting to know, we ask all former cricketers or cricketers who come on the podcast, at what point in your life, whether it be childhood, your teenage years, was the moment or period when cricket went from being a fun game that you played into something where you thought, okay, I could make a career of this and become a professional?
For me, it would definitely, be when I made my Trinidad and Tobago debut, or even just before that, actually. When I played for West Indies under 19. Obviously, I represented Trinidad under 19, and I got that call to the camp, and I made that team to Pakistan and Sri Lanka. The World Cup was in Sri Lanka. The warmer part of it was in Pakistan. It was only while I was there, it sort of suddenly hit me that, listen, if you're one of the best 15 under 19 guys in the Caribbean, then this is something that you should want to do. So there and then it hit me. And then we came back home and we were able to, get into Trinidad and Tobago senior team trials. And then everything kicked off, from there. Because to me, it was quick. So I didn't get much time to think about much things. And I didn't get a chance to enjoy, being a young sort of cricketer, because it went straight from Trinidad and Tobago team into the West Indies World Cup squad in 2007.
Was there like an early coach or teacher who you kind of credit as being influential in you making that jump up to the under 19 seniors, under 19 side?
When I started playing, my first coach, Asli Mandol, in Success Laventel in Trinidad in secondary school, and I started to play hardball seriously. Obviously, he would have been the one to actually teach us the basics of cricket and what is needed to be done. Before that, I wasn't coached. I used to play like softball cricket, in the car park, or play with my friends and things like that. And it's only there and then when I went into secondary school, not that first term that starts in September, but in January, when cricket started, is when you actually started to get that coaching. So he definitely would have laid that foundation, for myself. And after that, it was basically going into Queen's Park, where at that time we had the head of cricket, Brian Davis. He was obviously a former West Indies cricketer, played in the county leagues and stuff like that. So he was the head of cricket there, and that's where I met the present Trinidad and Tobago coach right now, David Furlong. So he would have been sort of instrumental, as well in my progression, through Queen's Park and into Trinidad and Tobago setup.
Who at that point in your career, who were you sort of modeling your game on? Was there any batsman or bowler even who you thought, I want to be like this guy?
Watching cricket in my little time, obviously that was in the 90s where there was the Courtney Walsh. So I used to try to model my action, to big Courtney. But I used to watch Courtney, used to watch Curtly Ambrose. These were the two guys, the main guys. And then from a batting perspective, we had the Brian Lara and Carl Hooper. I liked his relaxed sort of mentality, as well, of how he did things. Brian Lara, maestro, I said, living legend, for all of us. So these are the sort of guys that we watch going through, the ranks and, wanted to be like, in the sense of when my stepdad, who was the one, I basically say that I live his dream. But he loved cricket. None of my immediate family played cricket. But he used to take me to the Queen's Park Oval, in the 90s. He used to stand there in the Stonemeyer stand and watch the greats when they play against England, Australia, whichever team is there, and try to emulate them when they get home in the park.
So you've made this journey to the Under-19 World Cup, and then you take a slight detour. You play for Haxey Cricket Club in Lincolnshire in the summer of 2006. I think you played 5 games there. Kind of, what was that experience like as a youngster?
That was an experience, if I should put it that way, because again, after Under-19, being in the West Indies Under-19 setup, the direction was what's next. I had a friend who I went to school with, Samuel Felix. He would have played age group cricket in Trinidad and Tobago, and he was playing in leagues. A couple of years before that, he used to go for the 6 months and come back, and he was like, "You know what? Do you want to come?" And he organized. And found the Haxey Cricket Club for me. And when I got over there, obviously, you don't know what to expect. 17, 18-year-old, I think it was at that time, going across, leaving home, foreign country, doesn't know anything, and didn't even have a MSN sort of messenger email set up, nothing, zero. And they put me into a little small room, but it was in the office building, and behind the building in the night, I was hearing trains. So it wasn't really a very, very good experience at the start. Obviously, big as I am as a 17, 18-year-old, tears coming through my eyes because I don't know what to expect. But after a couple of days, I sort of told them, well, this is not suitable. And they found a nice family for me, which was the Scott family, which up till today I'm still in contact with. And they took me in because Alan Scott at that time, he was the captain of the Haxey cricket team. So, and he had 2 boys, Joe and Tom, and they were young and whatever. And they took me in, into their homes. Alan and Carol Scott, I can't forget them. And from there, I played the 5 games, and I got a call from Omar Khan that they were going to play a T20 tournament, exhibition T20 tournament in LA. And some of the guys would not be available because they're on West Indies A duty, West Indies duty, or whatever. And subsequent to that, when we come back, there's this Stanford tournament that is coming up as well. So this can be an opportunity. And I told, I think it was Stephen King was the CEO, I think, of the Haxey Cricket Club, or the president or something like that, that, I got this call, and it's like an opportunity. It's like I'm not selected for Trinidad and Tobago just yet, but this is my opportunity here to see what can happen. And they allowed me to go back. I went to LA and I came back, and from there, that was it.
So you get the call up for the Stanford tournament in 2006. The first of, well, you've got 598 at the moment, professional T20 games. So this was the first one, came against Cayman Islands. But obviously this is before the IPL and before T20s had really taken off. What did you make of it at the time, the format T20? Was it something that you envisioned growing as it has done?
Well, obviously, we never envisioned T20 cricket. All we knew growing up was first-class cricket, 50-over cricket. You perform there, you do well, you play for Trinidad and Tobago, you represent West Indies for Test cricket and one-day cricket. That was it. That was always the dream. That was always what was in front of us. We never had options and opportunity. And again, knowing what we know now, because the way the world has developed, now there's options and opportunities. So at that point in time, I was not thinking about T20 cricket or anything of that sort. I was just thinking about representing Trinidad and Tobago, being able to, as we say, step with the big boys, and hopefully, if I'm good enough, go on to the next level, which is to represent West Indies at Test level and 50 over.
Yeah, Santoki, let me jump in here. I'm glad Kieron's mentioned Test level, because Kieron, let's try and deal with this as early as possible within this particular episode, because there is somewhat of a myth that perpetuates that you only wanted to play white ball cricket, or you're only a white ball player. And I don't know how many people have actually bothered to study what you did in red ball cricket within the region. And I'm not sure how many people actually bothered to study that you were still playing red ball cricket up until about 2015. And again, I guess there's a bit of a myth that you turned your back on red ball cricket from early. And before you jump in with with whatever you want to say, just so that people have the stats clear on this particular episode. In 2006-2007, you averaged 49 in the first class season. In 2007 and 8, 31. KFC Cup as well, 53. 2008-2009, 65. 2008, 2000. Sorry, that was the West Indies Ball Cup. Sorry, 2008-2009, 44. Moving on, so I'm taking them all at different stages and randoms here. 2010-11, you averaged 34. 2010-11 later on, sorry, you averaged 48. You're catching my drift here. Now, granted, as you went on, you were playing probably 2 games here, 1 day game here. So, like, for example, 2012-2013, you played 2 games and you averaged 52. And then if I fast forward up until probably the last time you played in a first class season, when you got 100 and was it 111? You averaged 38 in that season as well, and you played 2 games. So the obvious question that I want to raise here is, in your opinion, why did you never get selected just for 1 game? So forget a game, a squad. Why were you never selected in a squad? In red ball cricket, why do you think people didn't see you as a red ball player? And I guess by people, I have to say administrators. What was it that stopped you? Because Santoki and I have often said, when you retired, we were like, I cannot believe that Pollard went through his whole career and didn't play 1 test match, not even 1. What I'd love to know from your perspective, what went wrong there?
Before I go back and answer, I should say that maybe I was just ahead of the baseball that is playing now in Test cricket. if I can put it that way.
Yeah.
Right? No, honestly, I was branded a white ball cricketer from the onset. That tag was given to me by the selection panel at that point in time. From the time that I started, obviously, yes, I made my debut. I scored 100 on debut. I hit 6s, right? I got into the West Indies sort of World Cup team, the World Cup team in 2007, based on the KFC Cup at that time, because he was playing 4 days and then 1 days, right? At that particular juncture. And from then, I was labeled a white ball cricketer. They said that, I'm going to play white ball cricket. So for years, I was saying that, I wanted to play Test cricket. I wanted to play Test cricket. I wanted to play Test cricket. If we go back into majority of the interviews, I wanted to play Test cricket. I wanted to play Test cricket. It was always a dream to play Test cricket. I can remember, and I give my close friends and persons this story. I never forget in 2010. So that I made my debut in 2006, 2007. So after that, played for West Indies here and there. Then 2010, they selected a team squad to play in the Caribbean. I think it was the Caribbean at that point in time. And obviously, I've been labeled a white ball cricketer. So they were never, ever even looking in that direction, despite what was transpiring in front of them. And in 2010, when they selected that team, I think Bravo would have been appointed the captain. He was injured, right? And then they said, okay, Pollard, we want you to lead this A team, right? In these couple of first-class games on the one-day leg of it. At that point in time, before that, I got a call and I had a contract in front of me to go to England to play in the same Vitality Blast for Somerset. And if we go back a year before that as well, there was a sort of a strike in the Caribbean when the Bangladesh series.
Yes.
Right? And there and then I got a phone call to play that test series. Right?
Yeah.
I got that phone call. But due to what was taking place and the understanding of what the guys were standing for from that particular instance, I told them it's very, as much as I would like to, right? It will be remiss of me to go against the principles of what the guys are actually fighting for. And at that point in time, I was nowhere near the team. So I could have taken that opportunity and say that I want to play and all of that. And I said, no, I can't. I said, if it's going to affect my selection going forward, it's fine. In West Indies cricket, not just in that era, in West Indies cricket, and I'm fine. But my principles are a bit higher and better than what you're doing. So I said no. And in 2010, so after that, they did what they did, and the squad came back, and they weren't looking in my direction. And then we had the contract in front of me, and administrator high up pulled me outside in a meeting in Jolly Beach Hotel in Antigua, and he asked the question as to if I want to be remembered as a legend, or if I want to be remembered as a 5-over sort of slasher, whooper, whatever you want to call it. And what was taking place in West Indies cricket at that point in time, being a young man, obviously, yes, I'm going to play this A team. It's still not guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed. The selectors didn't give me any sort of inclination that their views on myself has changed. At that point in time, I said, listen, because of what has transpired and how it's in front of me, I'm going to miss this A-team series, right? And I'm going to take my chance, being the words that he used at that point in time. In the meantime, I said, because until I can be given some clear sort of reasoning as to why I'm not selected or being looked at in the longer format of the game, this particular time, I'm going to Somerset. And from there, I played Somerset. And then I came back. And as you saw, every time I was available, every single time I played 4-day cricket. And all through that time, 2010 till when I took the indefinite break in 2015, 2016, I was singing this song, I'm still interested in playing Test cricket. And even there and then, when we were being labeled, whatever we were being labeled, during a certain period, I've never missed a West Indies series going and playing the leagues. And that is something that people don't know, despite everything that has taken place, because my agent and myself, what we used to do, is that the first thing we used to ask is, what is West Indies calendar? What are the dates? So when you're speaking to the relevant franchises and teams, this is when he's going to be available, because he needs to be available for the West Indies. So there's a period between 2010 and till I've even finished the other day, right? That I didn't miss a game because I was playing in the leagues. Anytime I missed any cricket for West Indies is when I was dropped, or when I was I can't even find the word right now in West Indies cricket.
Yeah, I'll give you the word when you were blacklisted. That's the word I would use.
Yeah.
And I guess, I mean, carrying on that trend. I mean, you've alluded to someone who will remain nameless, saying to you, "What do you want to be remembered as?" And you're right, and I would urge people who are watching this episode or listening to this episode that go and look at Kieron's stats. He's not lying. Between 2010 to, I'd say, that World Cup, that 2015 World Cup, or that India tour, 2014, and the World Cup, Kieron didn't miss anything that he was selected for. That's actually true. That I'm not backing Kieron up. That's actually true. He did not
that's
miss
facts.
anything.
That's facts.
So
that's facts.
That begs the question, Kieron, did you at any point, and I guess really we fast forward probably to that India tour and onwards, but did you at any point, when was the point? Because it's not did you did. At what point did you realize that you weren't wanted in West Indies cricket? Guess is the better question, and maybe that's the wrong way to phrase it, because you were the person in the midst of it all. Now, for those who don't know the history, who are listening to this, obviously we went to India. There was a massive furore after the pullout from that India tour. It's worth me just stating for the record here that the independent review into that India tour found multiple people to blame for that tour, not the players alone. And that I remember at the time, Kieron, that one of the decisions made out of India was that nobody should be held, no player should be, how did they phrase it? No player should have this held against them moving forward with regards to selection. And I always say that you and Bravo basically stopped getting picked from that point onwards. So, but I'm intrigued to know how you saw it as a player at that point in time.
Well, again, you remember you had to say something, right? And you had to make it look that no one will be victimized, as they will say, from that, or held accountable for what took place. But with that being said, the then captain has never played an ODI game after that. That was his last ODI for West Indies. The vice captain at that point in time, so myself, was blacklisted. Ravi Rampal didn't play ODI after that. And everybody else represented West Indies.
So what happened?
So, in words, no one was held accountable. Let's take out Rampal for 1 minute. But the captain and the vice captain were the ones who were blacklisted and victimized. And there was no secret about it, because the administrators at that time, Cameron and his buddies, they felt that, we were responsible in that sense. But again, that is something that, for me, it was very, very, it was distasteful in the way how everything was panned out. And the way that they continued after that to tarnish, right, the reputations of us as cricketers, which is Bravo and myself, and others who were playing T20 sometimes at that point in time. And every single thing that they tried to do and they tried to say was in a negative light to put the people of the Caribbean around the world in against us. Calls, I can safely say calls were made. Persons had conversations, whereas don't take these guys in your leagues. What these guys have done, they should not be playing for you. They have mashed up West Indies cricket. They have cost us. And these things came from high-flying ranking officials within that board. And to know that this is what your own people sort of think about you, right? It was distasteful in my mouth and Bravo for a period of time. But as we continue to say, and I sang it the other day, you can't, no matter what you do, you can't keep a good man down. What is for you is for you. And within that time that we were blacklisted and we didn't play and all these things, life took a different path for us. And it gave us an opportunity to sit back and look and see how we should not be when we get older or when we get in a different stage in our lives and career. And, for us, we trotted on. We went on because things were being said that these guys are disruptive in a camp. But yet still, you are disruptive. You have done all these things that you have claimed, but we are still playing in all the leagues and still wanted in every single league at that point in time. And there's no secret at times for top dollar. So are we only disruptive in the Caribbean? Does that make sense to people? And they sit there, and we sit there and they listen to this and they come and they comment on these things, and they continue to bash from the left side, they continue to bash on the right side without trying to understand the facts of what actually took place. Up till this day, not a lot of people have actually sat down and gone through and understand what took place. Reports came out of that, you just read of certain things. But what was done? Nothing.
Interestingly, and Santoki, I know you want to come back in, but there was a bizarre period, and we'll get to obviously you becoming captain later on down the line, but there was a bizarre period around 2016, 2017. So obviously Bravo never played again in ODI cricket, but you got a call back. It was a tri-series. I think we played Australia and South Africa, maybe.
And South Africa, yeah.
And you had a brilliant series. I remember it well. You had a brilliant series. Next series, okay, it wasn't as good. Then you got dropped and you weren't seen again.
Yeah, and that next series,
Pakistan, I think, the next one.
That next series was Abu Dhabi, was against Pakistan in Abu Dhabi, and that was the series where 2 days or the day before the team was leaving to fly out. The coach was sacked or disciplined or whatever.
Yes.
Right, Phil. Right at that time, everyone failed on that tour. Preceding that tour, as I said in the tri-series, we had a good series. Right, you had 3 games, 3 ODIs and 3 T20s. Right, we went to that series without a head coach. All the instructions in that series was coming from the headquarters back in Antigua. But we on a tour. There were people in positions, but every decision or everything is to take place was coming from there. How can you be on a cricket tour and that happened? Right? The then chairman of selectors, I think he might have been on that tour. Right? And after that tour, as I said, every single person on that tour failed. Everybody. Maybe the highest score, the highest average coming out of that, you can check it, maybe 20-something or 30-something. Nothing to write home about, right? I was dropped. But the reason that I was given, right, is what was laughable. Commitment. I was dropped because commitment to batting. So when I inquired a bit more, because I'm not too bright. Sometimes you just need to ask questions to understand. So when I asked the individual, I said, what is commitment to batting? What do you mean? Right? If you tell me, okay, you didn't score runs, and this is the reason why, okay. I wouldn't agree with you because everyone didn't score runs, and the series before that, it was good. So 3 games, I don't think make you a bad player overnight. Right? Commitment to batting. I went on to add, I said, listen, you finally know, because of everything that was taking place, that I came back into the team, right? Because we'd have played the Super 50, blah, blah, whatever. Did well. You are guessing that you wanted me not to do well. I did well. This series now, okay, I didn't do well. So you got your opportunity. This is what you want. But your reasoning does not make sense, and I will hope that you don't tell any other young cricketer this going forward. Because if you are telling me I'm not committed to batting, then when I look at myself, I'll say that I'm not committed to myself, I'm not committed to my family, I'm not committed to anything. Because batting and cricket is what put food on the table. And if I'm not committed to that, right, then something is wrong with me. So that's the only thing I could have come up with, because even if I want to get contracts around the world, I need to bat. I need to score runs. I need to. So what is commitment to batting? Up to this day, how many years now? That's 6, that's 4, 8, 7, 8 years later, I still don't understand it. But that was his opportunity to do what his bosses may have, it's alleged, instructed him to do at that point in time.
Before Santoki, just before you come in, sorry, Kieron, let me be balanced, Kieron, because there'll be people who are watching this guy and you're just on the side of him, of Pollard, and da da da. So let me try come with a bit of balance here. Just one quick question before Santoki comes in. Was there a point, and be honest, not that I'm saying you haven't been, but be honest, was there a point, and possibly at that point, that you said to yourself, you know what? Let me just do this franchise thing now. I'm done. I'm done with all the politics. I'm done with all of the name calling, the backstabbing, the this and that. Was there a point you said, you know what? Don't call my name ever again? Did that? It must have crossed your mind.
Yes, it crossed my mind after that conversation. After that conversation, it was like, what is the point, right? And again, as I said, if it's one thing. When I look at myself in the mirror, I can be dishonest to you. I can lie to the world. I can say whatever. But when you watch yourself in the mirror, you have a conscience, right? You can't lie. And at that point in time, with that sort of explanation, because then, remember, 2014 would have happened. You have gone through that sort of mayhem with everything that took place. The presidents, this one coming out, people on talk shows in the morning saying verbal diarrhea, because they don't know, right? You fought your way, right? You get out of that, you get over that zone, and you say, okay, pick yourself up, let's go. Got back into the team, did well, you worked for it. Then now, this again, I said no. I said, you know what? Now is the time. That's what you guys want. You the owners of cricket in the Caribbean. You're the bosses. You have to respect. One thing I learned too, you have to respect authority, right? So certain things you can't do and you can't say about or to people in authority. It's just as simple as that. You have to respect authority. You have to be respectful. So they had a job to do, and they said, okay, this is what you dropped commitment about it. Okay, no problem. I have my job to do now, and I have to look after what I need to look after. So at that point in time, I was like, yeah, this is my direction. It's fine.
No problem.
So fast forward now, after you get dropped from the ODI side in 2016, I think you play a few T20 internationals, 2017, 2018. Then 2019, new Ricky Skerritt administration comes in. You get the call, Kieron, we'd like you to be captain for the ODI side and the T20 side. Was it an easy decision to make, bearing in mind the history you'd had at that point with the West Indies side?
It was definitely one to think about, because subsequent to that, before the 2019 and that call, remember we were on one of the Barbados newspapers. They had about 4 or 5 of us with big X's on our faces, like we had murdered some people. When you make the front page of any newspaper, then you know you've done something really, really bad and wrong. And after that, 2016, when I got dropped, right? It had the qualifiers for the World Cup. That's when they said that we turned our back on West Indies cricket.
Yep, I remember that.
So what transpired was that we weren't playing for West Indies. We were playing in the leagues, right? We were not on their radar. I said internally, they feel that you don't know. These guys have to never play for West Indies again. Every time your name come up, was arguments in the rooms. We know. Yes, we know. But we had a contract. We signed a contract to go to the Pakistan Super League, which obviously was worth a couple $100,000, right? And you get an email. Let's say if you get an email on January 3rd, after not being involved, that, and you have to respond in 2 days. That's how they used to do things, you know. You just have to just be there, sit down, waiting. if you're going to make yourself available for Super 50. So the wording of that was like, okay, if I'm going to make myself available for Super 50, what does that mean? I don't know. That is nothing concrete. That is nothing in conversation. You then, I guess you'll be big enough, pick up the phone and say, this is what we're thinking or whatever. And I actually didn't see the email. I got a phone call and it was like, hello, this is Mr. X. I sent you an email. I haven't seen that you responded. The date to respond is today, so I don't know if you received it. Can you check it and let me know? I said, okay, I've not seen any emails. I haven't checked it, to be honest. Let me check it and I'll call you back. Call you right back. Hung up the phone, saw the email, read it, close the phone, read the email again, close the phone, call back. Say yes. I saw the email. Obviously, I can't give you an answer on this right now. As we speak, I need to have conversations because you're just asking if I'm going to be available for Super 50 cricket. So I just need some clarity as to what you mean. What is this about? Well, we have the Super 50 and then the team for the qualifiers. We're looking to select the team for the qualifiers. So, you guys, if you want, you can, play Super 50 and you'll be eligible for selection. But there's no guarantees of anything. I said, okay. I said, so, okay, no problem. I said, let me get back to you. Left it there. Made a couple phone calls, final, whatever. And I called back and I said, no, I can't make myself available for Super 50 because what is going to happen after Super 50, I don't know. And these are some of the things that I have in front of me since 4 or 5 months back, right? I've made commitments 4 or 5 months back, and me playing Super 50 is not anything of guarantee. It's not that you want to walk back into the team or anything like that, but you have gotten to a stage in your life whereas to say I'm going to just have to fight and go through all that have transpired over the last how many years, I didn't think it would have been fair to myself or the people around me. So I simply said, no, I'm not available for Super 50. Super 50 is representing Trinidad and Tobago. No, I'm not available for Super 50. And then even self, you're not sure if you're going to be selected for the Super 50 team anyway, because that's another selection panel you have to go through. They might be on a different sort of pathway, on what they want to do. Not saying that you won't be selected, but in reality, all of these things haven't played. So again, I just said, no, I'm not available for Super 50. And I guess that was taken that we turned our back on West Indies cricket. That's me. I don't know how the others would have gone down, but I know for a fact, after no communication for how many couple years or whatever, just to that, I'm sorry. I don't think in this world, in this modern world, life, actually works like that. So that is what took place there and then. And fast forwarding now to when I came back and we played the Caribbean T20 and CPL and all these things. So you'd have been doing well, you're going around the world, you continue to maintain your standard or whatever. And that's when we played a couple T20 games, and that's when the names now started to come up because I think the selection panel would have changed just before the 2019 World Cup there. And all of us was brought back into that pool, and your name started to jump up again for selection. And I was actually named as a reserve in the 2019 World Cup squad before what Santoki asked a question about when I got that call to represent or to take leadership of the team in 2019. So at that point in time, conversations, communication would have taken place, and that is how in the modern world and the world we operate, with communication.
When you took that captaincy, though, did you foresee that you were going to get a regional cuss out from everybody taking the captaincy because I'm not gonna call names or call territories, but let's call it as we see it. Not a lot of people weren't happy. A lot of people that weren't happy because remember, up until then, you'd been painted as you are a mercenary of West Indies cricket. You, Bravo, Chris, etc., etc., etc.
Before you continue, right? I'm just
go
gonna ask a question. People always say it, right? And I will ask a question. Walk a day in my shoes, and you'll understand why people make decisions. If I walk a day in your shoes, I'll understand why you make decisions, right? And people just sit there and they call us these names, right? But yet still, they forget that we are human beings all the same, right? And we have families to take care of. 95% of us come from homes of poverty, of nothing, right? And sometimes you have decisions to make. And everyone sits there and they know what's the right decision, but they don't understand the scenario of what you are dealing with. And they always feel that, okay, if you play 1 or 2 tournaments, you have enough. So you know what? You should play for West Indies now.
Yeah.
Come on. Continue. Sorry, I just had to interrupt you because
listen, Santoki has made this point many a time about the financial reality of what people love to tell our cricketers what they should and should not be doing. I mean, in terms of life decisions. But like I say, yeah, you get the captaincy. Were you worried's the wrong word, but were you wary of what the regional reaction would be? And remember, and this isn't about, and I phrase this, I'm be very careful how I phrase this. Oh boy, I don't know how to phrase this. You were taking over from Jason at the end of the day, and this isn't about Jason. That's not the point I'm making here. But Jason is looked on, generally speaking, favorably in the Caribbean. Kieron Pollard is not looked on favorably in the Caribbean. So were you wary of the kind of regional reaction by taking the post?
Of course, all that was taken into consideration. You know, everything was sort of thought about as to what is or what will or will not happen, you know, going forward. And again, it was something that I was willing to deal with, because it wasn't one of taking over from Jason and just taking over just to be a captain. It was one of actually getting the opportunity to give back what I have been deprived of years gone by. And I'm not talking runs and wickets. I'm talking about the years of experience and the years of knowledge that I've gained around the world, sitting in dressing rooms with some of the greatest players to ever grace this game and listening to conversations and different things. These are the things that I wanted to bring back. I used to always do it anyway, behind the scenes, being playing or not. But I had an opportunity to practically do it and actually lead, you know, from the front and try to set a foundation for West Indies cricket going forward, and a sort of a template, you know, as to what needed to be done at that point in time. Because if I'm being honest, that period gone before there, we killed a lot of our cricketers at a very, very young age. Even now, some of the guys that used to play before, people don't even ask questions about them. They don't even care how they're living right now, right? In that era before that. And when I say that era, it's sorry to say, the Cameron-led sort of era, for me, wasn't great for West Indies cricket. And we all know that we didn't share the best of relationships. And it wasn't because of, I didn't think it wasn't because of you don't like each other, but the principles were different. What we wanted to achieve were different. If you did something well, you get congratulated. If you didn't do it well, you're going to get the other side of it. And that's how I live. When I don't perform, if even you guys say what you have to say of non-performances, it is warranted. And that is fine. And I live by that. But when persons just go out to just tarnish and say these things for no apparent reason, then there's a problem. And honestly, we didn't share the best of relationship in that Cameron era. Courtney Brown, nothing. Richard Pybus.
Yeah,
That era.
call the names. Yes, call them.
That's fine. No, it's fine. I won't say anything incriminating to get any sort of lawyer letters, but we did not, and I have not said it before, but we did not share the best of relationship, and no matter what they try to say or how they try to say it. And it's just because what the alignments of principles and integrity and honesty, it wasn't there. It wasn't what we had set out to do. And again, it is what it is. I have no qualms about it, because as I said, at the end of the day, it's not affecting myself in any way, because I would have stood up and said things in a respectful manner of what is right and what is needed at that point in time, in my humble opinion.
You talked about being a human being, and we talked about the regional cuss out. Towards the end of your captaincy, we saw the regional cuss out reach high levels. At that point in time, being an experienced player, did it still affect you knowing that large parts of the media were against you and sort of rallying against you, or had you built up an immunity to it?
Again, as I said, I'm one way as sometimes like water off a duck's back. You say something, if I have the opportunity to respond, I respond. I tell you, if not, I ignore. And I've built that up over time, because again, I say I'm not the regular type cricketer. I'm not the technically correct sort of cricketer. I'm not the golden face, soft face, well spoken, individual, what people assume that they like. I'm not that, right? It's unfortunate, but I'm not. I was brought up with same values, morals, and principles, but believing in certain things, and if something is right, is right. This is wrong, it's wrong, and you'll say it no matter who it is. But I said respectfully. So, and that's one thing they'll never say. I was indisciplined or I was disrespectful to the coach. You never heard that one, but they hear the disruptive, because you'll ask questions. You'll ask why, So you'll hear those things. But I knew part of the media, right, and people, they were just out to just get you for what they believe they were fed over the period of time, right? And to me, that had no impact on me, because I know what they were about, right? And you'd have seen even in media conferences, you see guys come with agendas, and every time, and as I say that, I remember my good friend, Mr. Brandon Collett. I met him at my bar the other day, and I took a picture with him and everything.
Yeah, I saw the picture. I saw it.
Yeah. I told him.
What, you two are big veterans now?
Yeah, I told him, I said, well, boy, you have to find somebody else to ask those hard questions and to cuss out now. So, unfortunately, I gave you some hard work. But yeah, when persons, sort of come with agendas, it made me, it motivated me on the inside, to be honest, because I knew they weren't there for the right reason. And one of the questions that I'll never forget, the other day, just before in that last series in India, and that made me think a lot as well, is that when a journalist, that's not a journalist, sorry. When a reporter, you have to be a reporter. You can't be a journalist. A journalist does do their homework, right? When you come and you ask me, the question you're going to ask me is if I'm going to sing at the end of this series, right? You guys will know what I'm speaking about. My good friend, Mr. Levy, I think it is, right? If I'm going to sing at the end of the series, that showed me that, listen, we are way, way, way off the mark when it comes to reporting. Not journalism, reporting. They didn't want to find out how the guys are feeling after finishing a series and winning a series in the Caribbean, and flying practically the next day and just having a 1 day or 2 days preparation for a next series in a different time zone and all these things. They don't care about that. Am I going to sing at the end of this series? I just laughed, and then afterwards I said, will be God be with us going forward.
I hear that. And do you know what? Something else that happened near the end of your tenure another thing which kind of got a lot of people talking was you openly called out the state of the batting in the region.
Yeah.
I think it was after the
Ireland
Island
series.
series. I think it was
Ireland
after the
series.
Island series. And
Yeah.
you gave a very forthright. And I'll be honest, Kieron, sometimes I think you're honest to a flaw. That's not a bad. I mean, I say a flaw in the sense of you'll speak your mind, and I don't think some people liked the fact that you were willing to speak your mind, and you were very blunt. You were very blunt with it and said the batting, this is a serious situation to sort out within the region. And I'm just the reason I bring it up is because I'm intrigued, because the response to that was as if you should shut your mouth. You should shut your mouth and stop talking, as opposed to analyzing the merits of that particular statement and what we need to do about it and what structures we need to put in place. So I'm just intrigued to see what made you want to say it then. How long had you been thinking about that? And maybe that also speaks to what do you make of the regional standards in general? Like, you ultimately, you grew up in a different era with respect, you are the previous generation of West Indies cricketers now, and we're moving to the next generation. So what do you perceive about the differences in regional standards and so on and so forth? And I'll shut up now, but I'll always remember that Bravo gave an interview on Sportsmax, I think about 6-7 months ago, and he was saying to the people on Sportsmax that he was visiting, I can't remember which facility he was talking about in Trinidad, and he was telling an anecdote how facilities hadn't improved in the 15 years since he'd been playing as a youngster and so on and so forth. So I'm just intrigued about what you feel about regional standards and this, that, and the other.
Obviously, at that point in time, I said it that we have a batting problem in the Caribbean because it was the truth. Because when you look back at the previous 2 one-day series as well, the international series, we didn't even bat 50 overs. The number 5, the number 6 batters, which is myself, sometimes Jason or whatever, we are batting inside 20 overs every single time, right? And then when you look at the scores that was coming out of regional cricket, and you look at the players and the batters that was coming out at that point in time, it wasn't great. Guys were getting 1 score in the entire season, right? And people will just say, you know what, after that 1 score, they need to play, because that is standard that we have set, for ourselves over a period of time. And it's funny that Bravo said that when he played 15 years ago, because I remember Darren Ganga saying the same thing at some point in time. And that was the previous era as well. And then coming now, it still has not. It had not changed, right? So again, for us, we have to take a look at ourselves. And when I say we, and even when I said that, and I said it's going to get me in trouble, because, and as I said, being honest is a problem in the Caribbean, because we don't want to hear the truth. And when I say we, the players, the administrators, coaches, every single one of us have to take responsibility for that. But no one wants to. Everyone just wants to pass the buck. And then the persons that the world are seeing are the ones being targeted, because that's what the world is seeing. But they are not seeing what we are coming out of. So again, people will say that, you had how many superstars touch the international world over a period of time. But then when they actually toured and they see some of the facilities and they see some of the places that we played and what we came through, how come? Right? And we have administrators and we have people who fly the world. And I hope deep down inside they feel embarrassed when they see what's out there, what's out here, as to what we have and what we call high standards. I said, I am not political, sorry, in any way, right? That's not me, and that's not my agenda or anything, right? One good thing I could safely say again is that I've just read that they bringing back an academy. If they had an induction of new players into the academy, And I always believe that Stanford ground that has now been acquired by Cricket West Indies, that should be our home for breeding new cricketers, because it was built, I think, precisely for something like that. So hopefully we can use it to our advantage. Now it's under the ownership of Cricket West Indies. So I'll hope and pray that they can actually, do it and have a world-class sort of facility, especially, because that's what it was at that point in time. It would have gone down a bit after years of not being used. And do that and help us. At least have one in the Caribbean first. We always talk about, okay, one here, one. But you have to start somewhere. You have to start with one. And the problem is when you start with one, is that the other countries now will be upset that it's in that country, which is frustrating.
That's one I'm waiting to hear once it starts getting used properly. And it's interesting you speak about obviously the academy and the youngsters. Briefly looking at the future stars, you have ended your career playing quite a bit of time with, I would argue, the next two who are seen as the ones to take our cricket forward. Obviously, Nicholas, Shimron. From the batting perspective, if we went into bowlers,
Shy Hope,
of course. If we went into bowling, we could probably mention like an Obed McCoy, for example. Obviously, Dean Smith, etc. Alzari Joseph. Jaden Seals, of course. Jaden Seals. And of course, you've also got your Kieron Pollard foundation. Is it foundation or is it scholarship?
No, the Kieron Pollard
which is what. When you speak to Josh De Silva, he talks about how that helped his career massively. So can you just talk a bit about what you see as like, or who you see as the future stars, and also plug your scholarship as well, because not a lot of people will actually, again, because of the cuss out, not a lot of people will actually know that you've helped actual future cricketers.
They don't want to hear that. They don't want to know that, and sometimes it's at my detriment as well that I don't really speak about it as much. I don't speak out as to what I do and how I help and what I do different things, because I do it through the goodness of my heart, because at some point in time during my career, someone would have helped me, right? And I saw what that did for myself. And I said 95% of us come from, humble beginnings and poverty and don't have opportunities. And the least I can do is, because I have the opportunity, I had the opportunity to travel the world, right, and do different things and being able to make something out of myself. I can help the youngsters. Akil Hossain would have gone through that scholarship. Joshua De Silva, Tion Webster, you would have gone, as well. Vikash Mohan, even one guy still in England playing, Iraq Thomas, a couple other guys, would have gone. And for me, because I got that little stint at Haxie there, as we spoke about, and I saw how it helped, and you hear when the greats used to come to England and how that helped the cricket. And when I realized that it gives you an opportunity to be a professional and be a man, right? Coming out of the under the roof of your parents and your guardians and being able to stand on your 2 feet. You have to work, you have to coach at that level. You have to do things that you might not be doing when you're home. I just believe that was a way to help, and I want to see the youngsters grow. I want to see them be better than how everyone else would have been, and give them the best opportunity. So wherever that I can help, I do that. So I said, I don't speak about it as much, but that's just my way as well as part of giving back to what the future can hold. And again, I said, you mentioned some names in West Indies cricket there, and they have the talent. They have what it takes. Some of them, they have the work ethic. I've been in that dressing room sometimes. I see how they work, and it's just a matter of support. And when I say support, I mean positive support. Yes, you're going to do badly. We're not going to be consistent, and you want to aim for consistency. We all want to do that. Sometimes it just doesn't happen, and that's just how it is. But we're missing a couple of players again because of communication and understanding the way of the world. And I'll say it, when somebody like a Hetmeyer, I keep saying it all the time. I love him to death, man. I believe should be playing all three formats of cricket. It's unfortunate at certain times that we had to, as I say, discipline him in that sense. But at the end of the day, it's one love, and you want to see them do well. Puran, he went through what he went through and came back, and his mindset is just different. You know, just willing to work. And why can't we all have that mindset just to achieve that one goal of being the best version of ourselves and the best version of a West Indies cricket team that we want to be?
I spoke to Puran a few months ago after the England tour, and he said those exact words about being the best version of yourself, being the best version of the team. He also mentioned how the whole team during that England tour was aware of the backlash against yourself and the pressure, and it sort of galvanized the team. And he also talked about how himself and the team need to improve their batting. Sort of when you handed over the captaincy to him, what sort of advice did you give for what's going to be a tough job for him?
Well, you see, I didn't have to give him much advice at that point in time, because we would have spent a lot of time, together. We sit and, we watch cricket, we talk cricket, we do things. So indirectly at different times, he would have seen and heard some of the things that would have been taking place and what needs to happen, and some of the battles that we'll have to fight. As I said, and he mentioned that England series as well, and I sort of galvanized the guys from what was taking place, despite it was with some of the individuals' names who were inside of that dressing room. I sort of galvanized it, and I put my back and decide I'm going to take the licks with, no problem. But at the end of it, all I want to see from the guys is that you guys go out and play cricket. During that series, I didn't mention that scenario once, what was taking place. They would have seen it and heard it, but they didn't hear it from me. My motive never changed. The coach's motives never changed at that point in time. We want one thing, which is playing a T20 series and trying to win it and galvanize the nonsense that was taking place on the outside. And as the president rightly put it, the mischief makers, because they're sitting down on their couch trying to make issues that are not there. Whereas with experience, you should be helping the youngsters and trying to teach them the right thing. But you're sitting out there and trying to use them as pawns to get a message across, to insinuate and say things about individuals that is trying to do something positively. I hope when they look at themselves, they're very proud.
Well, you can't be any clearer than that, So listen, Kieron, I'm so glad you've given us so much of your time. We're going to bring this one to a close with some questions that some of the followers of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast sent in. And thank you to the people who are patrons of the podcast. You were the ones we asked for the questions for this episode. So Kieron, Chris Lim sent in 2. So I'll give you the first one. He said, what's Kieron's favourite innings during his entire West Indies career?
Oh. I don't know. I enjoyed playing. I enjoyed batting. I enjoyed winning cricket games. Even some of your better performance came in losses, which was disappointing. But I guess one of my favorite innings would have been the 100 I scored in St. Lucia against Australia in 2012.
Yeah, that's one I thought you might go for, actually. Why that one, actually, though?
Again, playing against the number 1 team in the world at that point in time. We were, I think the series was locked at 1-1 in that game. We were in the balance and scoring 100 in less than 100 balls, 80-something balls or something like that, and getting us to a reasonable total to defend, and Narayan and the bowlers defended it well. And we were able to draw that series 2-2 against Australia in the Caribbean. At that point in time, I thought that innings, and we won that game was one of my better innings.
Thank you. And Chris's follow-up question was also, what does Kieron think our white ball teams need more than anything else to be successful?
I guess from when I say white ball, that's a both format, right? So that's
Yeah, but
50
you
over.
might want to pick. I'm assuming he means both, but you may want to focus on one more than the other. Maybe ODIs because that's what we're weaker in.
Yeah, I think we need to understand the art of batting for 50 overs and being able to score at the same time. Again, a tone has been us rotating strike, in the Caribbean, and that has sort of hindered us, as a batting unit, sort of going forward. But I just believe that we need to understand batsmanship, a bit more, understanding scenarios, understanding when you're on top of the game, when you need to continue to press the accelerator, when the pressure is on you and you need to absorb that pressure for that couple overs and have the mental strength to come out of it and not say that, okay, we got a good one. So yeah, okay, snakes, we get inside, we got a good one. But able to, get over the good balls, being able to play the good balls and then apply that pressure again. So the art of batsmanship, and understanding situations. Because sometimes we have found ourselves in good positions and then let it slip because maybe of lack of concentration, mental is gone, conversations in the dressing room before you come into bat, not being to understand the situation at that point in time, things like that. Obviously, I've seen it happen. So we need to be a little more focused on that and, continuously keep adding to our game in terms of for the various conditions that we come around. So again, it's not going to happen just like that, but with practice. And again, what I've seen is that, guys are trying to know we are now individualizing practice and trying to get better as an individual first and trying to give that extra 1 or 2% of yourself so that when you do that, the team, sort of can benefit. So a lot of emphasis is being placed on that. So obviously, before you get like this, you have to start somewhere, and that is something that we have started. And the guys are trying to do that, add different sort of ranges to their artillery in terms of how they combat situations.
Thank you. And then the final two questions from Cosme Rosario Bell. First one, he says, Kieron, besides more money, do you think there's anything Cricket West Indies or regional boards can do to convince, incentivize, encourage players who play franchise cricket to play in the to play either in the West Indies regional setups and not dodge selections through fitness test trickery? What more could they be doing, or have they exhausted all the options? And at this point, is it just about money? Now, that's an explosive question, Kieron. So, you know what? You just say what you want to say.
I honestly, guys, you say that and you ask that question. I think that the guys just think only about the money. Yes, we think about life, we think about the financial gains, we think about all these things. But I can safely say the guys deep down inside, they want to represent West Indies. But sometimes things happen and situations happen that you give you opportunity. You have to think about what is needed at that point in time. So I think, the guys are trying. I think the board, they are individuals that I've worked with within the board and within the setup that do have West Indies cricket at heart. There are few that do have West Indies cricket, and they are trying their level best, to get things and put things in place so everyone can be happy and they can find that level playing field where you get the best of both worlds, right? But then there are some who does not want to see that, and that's the unfortunate thing. So there's always, once you have that power, that on top there, then when it comes down to the players, then you sometimes have a decision, to make. But again, what I can safely say is that from 2019 for me, and I can speak on my behalf, right, and maybe a couple others, in terms of communication, of getting things done and getting players to play and understanding what is needed, the communication has been clear. And when it reached the point where persons are saying guys are not committed, I guess and that's where the one way as maybe certain individuals might have had enough of trying the soft route and the nice route and whatever, and say, well, okay, listen, if you don't want certain things, then we can't force you. But I can safely say the communication of stretching out one hand and stretching out the other hand to come to a compromise for guys to represent West Indies and play franchise cricket. If the younger guys now don't take that hand now, they would not like to be in our position years back when there was not even a finger. It's either this way or that way.
Thank you. there's no need for me to add anything further to that. Santoki, let me let you get the final words on this.
Boy, I was gonna say we've been talking for 70 minutes now, and we're acting as if Pollard hasn't ever won anything in his career. We got to get him back for a part 2 to talk about the World Cup, the IPL, the CPLs. But no, I think Mashal, I think you'd agree this has been thoroughly interesting conversation, and thank you for being so honest, Kieron. And also, you're playing in 100 for London Spirit, so we look forward to seeing you in that, and hopefully we'll be able to meet in person.
Yeah, get us some tickets.
Yeah, that's easy. That's easy. That's easy. But yeah, again, thanks for having me. I said name callings, some of these things, it could have been a bit more, but for me, I have no malice within myself right now. I'm happy. I'm okay as to what would have transpired over the years. And again, as I said, when I look at my journey, and this is what life is about. It's never going to be smooth, but sometimes you don't want it to be as rough either. But having said that, I've enjoyed each and every time I got the opportunity to represent the people of the Caribbean. And I said it in my retirement sort of letter and message that I thank them for giving me the opportunity. I thank the various persons for giving me the opportunity to play for West Indies, represent West Indies, to lead West Indies as well. And it has been a dream. I've lived my dream. I have in my heart no regrets at the end of it. We would have all loved to play Test cricket. It didn't happen, and I don't lose sleep over it. I'm fine with it. I'll still lay down. Even when they were playing against Bangladesh, we lay down and just watching Test cricket and understanding what's going on. So that's fine. And I just want to see the guys continue to do well and continue to excel, because you can be a superstar, you can be a legend of the game, right? There are options, and hopefully administrators and everybody could understand. We are not in 1960s, 70s, 80s again, where there was not any options. There's options. The world has changed. Technology has changed. Everything has changed, and we need to change in order for us to get better, as a people, as a team. And we need to help each other. We need to work together in order for that to happen. It's not going to take one stakeholder, players alone, for that to happen. It's going to take each and every one of us for that to happen. So hopefully, the guys can do well. They can finish off this series against Bangladesh, this T20 series, and go into the ODI series, because as I said, there's a long sort of summer ahead for us with India coming and New Zealand and then the World Cup. So we just try to rally, around the guys, and hopefully, we can get now. We watch as supporters, we can get that sort of performances and continue to smile, because we know how to win and we know how to celebrate. When we win. But again, it's not going to be easy.
Kieron, listen, obviously that was the point at which we kind of wrap, but there is one final thing I should just ask, because people shout at us that we didn't. What's your, you've still got a few more years left in the game, certainly, but what are your plans going forward? What, couple more years, 3 more years on the franchise circuit, or wait till you think your body's had enough? And also, can you see yourself going into coaching, or once you're done with cricket, you're done?
Again, I said I have some years left in me. Couple injuries here and there, the last couple of months or so. I guess, and that's just the effects of the international cricket just coming off, and then finally when it's gone, I can play a couple more years. But yeah, I would love to get back into cricket and continue to give back to cricket. Cricket has given me every single thing that I have in my life. Maybe 8-10 years ago, I said, no, not coaching, because whatever. But there's a different perspective. For me, I want to get back into the game, and I will do everything else behind the scenes from a paperwork perspective to have that, but you know, your knowledge and the experience, you know, is going to be there, and you want to continue to share it, you know, for the younger generation, sort of going forward. So after I'm finished playing, definitely get back into cricket. And you know, the good thing about this part of life is that you don't have one set of people just screaming, get rid of you, get rid of you, get rid of you, get rid of you, get rid of you. You know, you don't have that, you know, in this part of life. It has been good, and I just try to go out and continue to enjoy, you know, each and every time. But I still love them. I still love the fans. I still love the people. I still enjoy the banter. And once that desire is inside there, you know, to play, I'm going to play. And when it's not, just like a couple of months ago, I know exactly when it's. I'm not afraid to make, you know, decisions when is not something expected.
Well, people, you heard the exclusive there. If you thought Kieron Pollard was done, we're going to have Kieron Pollard, West Indies head coach, at some point in the future.
Well,
and continue.
I'll have to get another shield, you know, because I also see and hear some of the things that, you know, our present coach have to go through as well. And you know, again, as I said previously, I just hope that day will reach when we could appreciate what we have, right? Because, not to finish, I don't want to rant, but it's difficult at times when you're not playing, they want you to play. When you're playing, they don't want you to play. What to do, right? So you can't please them. But if the world is appreciating what you have, and you don't want to appreciate it, don't be upset. All right, just appreciate what we have. We have guys who have done well in the world. We have a Chris Gayle. Let's use a Chris Gayle. Everybody forgets what he has done in all three formats of cricket. Right? All three formats of cricket. But we continue to see things and be a certain way. No, come on. Let's appreciate. Let's appreciate our legends. Let's appreciate the Bravos of this world. All right? Let's appreciate the Gales. You know, even the previous selector, Sawan. All these guys. These guys have done a lot for West Indies cricket. All our legends, they have done a lot for us. Let's appreciate them.
100%.
And I think that's a perfect note to end on, Mash. So that's been episode 69, guys. I'm sure there's a lot to talk about. You can obviously hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, whatever your feedback is of this episode. But once again, Kieron, thank you so much for giving up your time and coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that's been episode 69 of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Thank you and good night.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rule seems coming.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.